So a 2022 SA Kids online study has revealed that 70% of children surveyed use the internet without parental consent. Now, according to the study by UNICEF South Africa and the Social Development Department, this increases the risk of abuse and online violence. So let's focus on what parents can do to protect their children online this morning. We're joined by the director of TechnoLife Wise Foundation, Dr. Marlena Kruger, joins us here in studio this morning. Dr. Kruger, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming on. And I am so shocked by that statistic of 70% of children using the internet without parental consent.
Yes, and I think unfortunately that's the reality, and that is most probably a little bit higher because of the reality of more and more children are getting access to smartphones, yeah. And they will also have access to the internet via their friends' environments, you know, so it is, parents would think this or that, but children know what they are doing.
So let's talk about that. You were saying that number of 70% is likely higher, given that it is a study that was done pre-COVID-19. So if I'm a parent who's listening this morning and I'm concerned about my child's use of their smartphone and the internet as a result, how difficult will it be, after I've watched this discussion with you, for me to now backtrack and try to implement rules?
Yes, I think that is part of the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges, to backtrack. And therefore, we at the foundation want to really hold hands of parents and connect like-minded parents and say, you're not alone. It will not, most probably will not be easy, because the children will be kind of addicted to what they are seeing, to what they have access to. Some would know what they're seeing. Many toddlers and young children don't know what they're seeing, and they can't cope with it, actually. So, but the fact is, we at the foundation, with our project and our challenge of wait until grade 8, is really to connect parents who want to be helped. We can help, we can empower them, we can let people and parents work together in a school, in a grade, in a community. One by one, we want to make changes and not talk anymore, but act. I think that because we just see what's the impact on the mental health, the physical health, the social interactions, cyberbullying, pornography, sexting. There are just too many things to say, it's okay, go with the flow, that's the world, otherwise I will miss it. It's just not worth it to have a healthy, balanced, happy child or children going into the future with a lot of confidence, being human, a whole person. That's the best. And not connected to a screen.
We'll get to the Wait Until Grade 8 initiative in just a moment. But of course, smartphones are not the only way that children are able to access the internet, right? A lot of children, you'll find, will have tablets or smart devices that have the ability to connect to the internet. What's the advice there? Because parents, I would say, they will say they use it for educational purposes, so that they get their children these smart tablets. But what's your advice on that score?
Yeah, I think that is even a bigger challenge, especially if it's integrating with the school environment. And more and more, it is the fact. You know, it's expected of children to have access to a tablet or a laptop, to do homework, to do searches on the internet and so forth. So surely, then it will take even more time of you or a caregiver to watch, actually. Where they are going, because we know that parental controls will not necessarily work everywhere for everything.
You mean the settings on the device?
On the devices, because of things that's happening and planted, basically, in things that, like YouTube Kids videos. You know, you think it's safe, it's sound, but it's ugly. There are ugly things happening there, you know. And we know about all these jumping figures. It's always to distract, to interrupt, and to give us dopamine and fixes, quick fixes, instant gratification. So the responsibilities are bigger, and the time will be more. But I think, on the other hand, we must know that the internet and social media the social media environment is a no-go for children under 13 years. That's the age restrictions, you know. So we must adhere to that because of mind and body development and integration. That's not there. You know, don't expect too much of our children, because they must have a healthy and a safe environment, thinking of Human Rights Month, for instance.
Absolutely.
You know, so we must act. It's our responsibility to put down those boundaries. And it may take an extra effort now, but it will be worth it over the long run.
So it comes down to parents and guardians just being more alive to what their children are doing online, even outside of a smartphone. Is this what TechnoLife Wise, what your foundation does? Are you able to give advice, practical advice, to parents? Can I bring you my child's tablet, for example, and say, help me implement safety measures here?
Yes, we will be in a position to do that, but unfortunately our children are very clever.
Fortunately or unfortunately in this case?
Especially with technology. On the other hand, you know, if they can't override it necessarily, they will most probably either be able to Google it, or a friend will be able to Google it, and they, you know, that's a challenge to override it. And I've heard it from teenagers, for instance, you know. So we must not parental controls and family link on Google and screen time, and so Bark is another one that you can implement, and surely engage with your children so that they understand why it's important to have at least those kind of controls, you know.
So Bark, just for our viewers who are watching, it's an app that you install on your child's device, and then you also have it on your own phone. So you get reports from Bark to say, so much time was spent online, these are the sites that are visited, and you get flagged. Sites that are worrying for content get flagged. So that's a very useful one for parents with children and devices. So let's talk about the Wait Until Grade 8 initiative insofar as smartphones are concerned. I mean, I would say 13 is actually still too young, and maybe let's wait even longer than that. But as a minimum, we should wait until grade 8.
That's 100% true. You know, that's the minimum age, at least.
At least.
And it will depend on your environment, the maturity of your child, but you can't be overprotected, if I can put it that way. I mean, with Bill Gates and these children, they also said, well, they waited till 14, but actually they should have waited till 16, for instance.
Absolutely.
So we, and that's why we want to engage and empower the community to stand together, so that your child is not the only child without a smartphone, but it must become the changing environment. You know, the majority of children should not have smartphones.
So that there's not that peer pressure.
Yeah.
So what is the danger, Dr. Kruger, for parents who have already taken that step? Their children are not 13, but they have smartphones. They may not be able to take it to school, but they certainly have access to a smart device. What are the dangers there, especially insofar as social media is concerned?
Yeah, I think if you think of the addiction side, because you always get the instant gratification, you want to know whether someone was looking for you, blah, blah, blah. You know,
someone's liked your photo.
You know, so those social behaviors and the addictions side of that's a challenge. And then the predators and the sexting, the pornography, you know, that's and even with parental controls or other controls that you have on your child's phone, they can still receive messages from another child who doesn't have parental controls, and they can actually access it, and I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, how children are receiving pornography. Let us put it out. Not only cyberbullying, because that's another reality. So the risk of sexting, pornography, cyberbullying, things that not us actually can cope with, but nevertheless our children.
Adults find it difficult to navigate. How much more difficult will it be for children? Is there an argument to be made here for, you know, with initiatives like this, that we are shielding our children too much from the reality of social media, and that once they get there, say at the age of 13, and they get the smart device, that will also be overwhelming for them?
I don't agree with that, because I think we must recognize, whether we want to know it or acknowledge it, social media and the cell phone environment, smartphone environment, and all the smart devices for that.
Yeah.
It is designed to interrupt, to addict, and to distract. So it is not good enough to say they will then be overwhelmed. It's like a drug. If you know it's like a drug, why would you give your child a drug?
Precisely.
If you know they can't manage it, don't expect it from them, because their brains and bodies are not matured and developed enough to take the risk to deal with the consequences and the responsibilities together with that. So rather engage with them, make sure they develop naturally in a healthy, balanced and happy way as humans from top to toe with all their senses, and ensure that they are fully human. And then gradually introduce other realities like the technology. They won't miss anything except real life. And I think our toddlers, for instance, if you think how intuitive and how easy they can navigate the environment if they just move their fingers.
They know exactly how to use a smartphone.
Yeah. So don't worry, your child will miss nothing except real life and being the best he or she can be.
Are you motivating for parents keeping devices away from their children altogether? As much as they can until they need it for school, for example?
Yes, unless you are together with them, to engage with them and interact with them instead of a flat screen. You know, and be careful about tech babysitters, because that's convenient for us now. It looks like everyone is happy and no one is unhappy while they are in front of a screen. But over the longer run, we know that it's more stress, more anxiety, more depression, more suicidal rates. It's just too much that our children can't cope with. You know, so let us rather be proactive and act now before it's too late, because the world is already telling us we may lose a generation of healthy, happy children who are enjoying real life because they are overstimulated, too much dopamine secretion, they are actually addicted, tantrums and meltdowns and you name it. Development, mental milestones are not there. I mean, if I talk to people like physiotherapists, speech therapists, you name it, they say younger and younger children are getting to them with a lot of physical stuff, a lot of social milestones not being, you know, a development, language development. There is just too much that we see in reality nowadays, even more. It's enhancing, increasing every day. So don't go there. Let us rather take hands, stand together, and know what's the best. You are the parent. You know what's the best. Rather take that extra little time and effort now for the longer term.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got this this focus on delaying children getting a cell phone before the age of 8. You called it the Wait Until Grade 8 campaign, right? How successful do you reckon it's been so far?
I think it's very fresh and very new. And I think the interactions that I get, they love it. You know,
the parents,
the parents, and not the kids necessarily, because they want it because their friends have it.
And then, and arguably they've probably had it for a few years by the time they get to grade 8. They've had their smart device.
And I've seen parents and children, I've talked to them, but they are in the minority, you know, so it's difficult, it's really difficult to be in the minority or the only child in your grade not having a smartphone and receiving the maths homework on WhatsApp, for instance. Then you need a mum or a dad for being the homework manager, you know.
Yeah.
So it is difficult, but I think what we are saying, one by one, they can confirm. It's not easy, but we are working with each one that can make a difference.
Yeah. And I imagine you need the partnership of schools as well, because if we're going to get rid of smartphones in our schools, you can't be sending the maths homework on WhatsApp. So that's going to be part of the partnership as well. Dr. Marlena Kruger, let me thank you for your time this morning. Such an important discussion. Dr. Kruger is the director of the TechnoLife Wise Foundation, and their campaign is Wait Until Grade 8, insofar as giving smartphones to our children at a minimum, waiting until they're 13 years old. Incredibly important, that one.